Hey everyone, welcome to the Geek Envy Podcast, episode 7. I'm Joey. I can't believe we made it 7 episodes and we only lost one podcaster so far. Mr. Manhattan is not here. Eric's gone.
R.I.P.
I'm assuming he's tending to a sick wife, and I'm pretty sure he's just sitting on top of his penthouse, enjoying the skyline of New York City.
Nah, he's playing Zelda right now.
Most likely that. But that's okay, because we've still got our bargain bin man. Matt's here, coming straight from North Carolina. How you doing this week?
Did you just ask me how I was doing? I'm doing well.
Yes.
Sorry, I couldn't hear it for a second. Doing well. It feels like it's only been a couple days since the last one, so week went quick, which is good.
I heard you recently went turkey hunting. Is this true?
It was coyote hunting, and I don't think I'm a hunter. I'm gonna be honest. It's kind of boring. So,
did you exercise? I feel like everyone talks about this. Did you exercise proper? Was it like trigger finger? Like where you put your finger like straight.
Don't put your finger on the trigger when the gun's loaded unless you're ready to shoot. So, yeah. But there were no coyotes, so there was no shooting. So.
They just
all the animals were safe and sound. Yes.
Okay, good. That's all I wanted to know.
Okay.
And then you shot a bow and arrow thingy.
Oh, yeah, I have a bow, so I did a little bit of that, because normally I'm in the city and can't shoot that, so that was fun.
Alright. Hey guys, did I introduce myself?
No. This is Joey from Texas.
Oh, hey. Every time we do this intro, it's completely different. Alright, as always, I am Joey, coming straight from Houston, where we're about to have some nasty storms. And I didn't do too much this past 2 weeks. I definitely didn't go hunting. I mostly just hounded you and Matt throughout the week and worked.
Yes.
But the important news for episode 7, our lucky number 7, is that we have a special guest from the big Cheshire Grin blog. We have Erika Haase.
Hello.
Am I saying the last name right?
You are, and 10 points extra credit for getting it right your first try.
Excellent. Just so everyone knows, her last name has 2 A's in it, so that's like, it throws you for a loop there for a little bit.
It is German for rabbit. If anyone's heard the word Hasenpfeffer being rabbit stew, that is where Haas comes from. That's the rabbit part. Excellent.
Well, thanks for joining us. We've been reading your blog throughout the week. You've been busy, definitely. You do a lot of deep dives into games. You schmooze with developers in like the real world, which is what definitely
yes, in the real world.
None of us do that in any way whatsoever. And you also do some cosplay work too. Which is an amazing amount of stuff. So tell us a little bit more about your blog.
Sure. I started it in January, and we can all abbreviate it to just call it BCG if that makes everyone's life easier. But yes, I started Big Cheshire Grin with the intent of wanting to do more deep dive work instead of just a lot of clickbaity article content. So I had seen so much talent in a lot of indie game developers, and I really wanted to represent a lot of the passion and the work that goes into creating those things, as well as just have some more intelligent discussion on games I loved or opinions I had. What better way to do that than to have your own site, of course, but I hadn't really found. I've written for other sites before, and I kind of wanted to take the reins and have my own thing and see where it went. So that's basically what my site is. It always tries to be meaningful and and say something with each article and highlight other people's hard work when I can get interviews with different developers. And that's honestly been probably the most fun part is just hearing that creative passion from different indie devs, not so indie devs, and the communication, the surprising communication as a result of things you may have seen for my work with Dishonored 2 and for the upcoming Prey game, and communicating with Arcane and such.
Right, you have a big Twitter presence too, and like you're getting some really cool feedback from developers out there. Like, how do you approach them normally?
To be completely honest with you, I just send an email, reach out, and sound professional. It is 100% about just believing what you're saying. Nobody needs to know that you're in your pajamas when you're doing it. You can sound really professional in an email. And when you have the confidence to just approach people, they're just normal people. And sometimes you'll get completely ignored, and other times you'll get surprised and they'll answer back. You never know when people are having a slow period between development, if they have a project coming up that you could get ahead of. You kind of never know what you're going to fall into. So it's always worth trying to reach out, seeing if they have a Twitter presence, seeing how much they actually interact with their community. I kind of started with people that have a pretty clear, active social media presence, because they're more likely to see if I tweet them or direct message them. And then other things, haven't gone so well. I've emailed people and, they don't get back to me at all, or they're not ready to talk about their game, but they'll put me on a press list for later, which doesn't really mean anything. You have to always follow up and follow through. But
right.
If you're willing to persevere and put the work in, things kind of domino effect. Like in the beginning, it's a lot harder than it is even just a little while later. You'll be surprised who wants to help you out. There's a tremendous amount of giving and sharing once people feel comfortable talking to you. And you get the surprising amount of, oh, you want me to introduce you to that person? I can do that. Really? Oh, that's cool. And it's really nice to see.
Yeah, I think it actually it shows that how important confidence is in terms of going out and talking to people, and then I think you do have that genuine interest that does kind of pull people to you and be like, oh, maybe this is a more valuable talk than some sort of on the surface press talk or something.
Yeah, I never wanted to go. There's plenty of websites that'll do their top 10 whatever, and I'm not taking away any kind of value from that. Sometimes you only have 2 minutes to read something, but there's plenty of times where I think people would really like to know maybe not just how the game was made, but what the inspirations were, and how that developer came to be doing this in the first place. And I know I can't be the only person that enjoys deep dive reads sometimes, so I clearly am not, based on my site's success so far. And it's just, I don't know, it's kind of, it's very validating and exciting.
Right. And you haven't been doing this for long, which is what's cool too to see.
That was the most unexpected part, was how quickly things suddenly, people just started answering emails, and that was certain things definitely help. I'm not going to say it's all luck. It is estimated guesses. For instance, starting out and the work I did for the Prey project, for the Arcane Arts article, I know enough about how Twitter works to know that's something that's going to get retweeted a lot, that's going to get in front of a lot of eyeballs, and that has the ability to snowball. So if you're starting something out and you have something to lead with that's kind of big like that will get you in front of people, it's a good way to start building the momentum. And then you can kind of do some stuff that's a little more off the beaten path. But once you can secure an interview or 2 interviews, when I finally secured the limited run interview with the founders of Limited Run Games, that was a pretty big deal, because they have so many connections with people, and they're awesome. Gotta say,
they're also, I'm sure they're also busy, so that was cool from an outsider's perspective to see I follow Josh and Doug on Twitter, and to see them tweet every day about like, oh, I've made this gaming pickup, or we've picked up this game to distribute, and then to see them be willing to take that time to put out
you feel really humbled by it, for sure. And I will say, like, I love them, and they're busy. I had to follow up. Like, the first time I interviewed them was after, I think we had to move the interview 2 different times. So it's persistence too, because you can't expect them to be remembering that, X website in Y corner of the internet wants to talk to them about, their business. I'm not IGN, I know that, so it's about being like, oh, hey, remember me? Let's have a conversation. And it's not that they don't want to, they're just busy. You just gotta get
they're just
get
super
noticed.
busy, we're doing an amazing job of that so far, and we're looking forward to reading more from you and your guest columnists, and even seeing more cosplay.
Yes, hopefully we may have something coming up soon. I'm trying to get that coordinated.
And Black Welts, I think you should actually go down to Limited Run Games now and just see if they'll let you talk to them, since you are very
Just walk
close.
over there, knock on the door.
You can tell them I sent you. Doug might be cool.
They're kind of in my neighborhood, so.
I'll be like, Matt is my envoy. He's my diplomat.
Yeah, Erika sent me. How's it going? My friend Joey wants a couple games. He said
I'll send you with the list of suggestions.
He'll be like, you and everyone else get in line.
Yo. Alright, let's get into, I guess, I always feel like this is the selfish part of our podcast, but you know what, whatever. Let's get into what we've been playing recently. Why don't we start with you, Erika?
Sure. I just finished Little Nightmares last night. Before that, I had been playing Tokiden 2 on Vita. I've beaten it, but I have kept coming back to it. There's something super addictive about the hunter genre games.
So, are you a Monster Hunter fan?
See, I never was a Monster Hunter fan. There was nothing about it that appealed to me. I think I started getting into the genre with Soul Sacrifice because it had such a deep story, and it was surprisingly just like, it just kind of struck me. A great art style, great writing. And then I discovered Tokiden, and I actually loved the story of Tokiden, and I thought the concept was really cool. These historical Japanese figures acting as basically your power-ups in the game, and then you slay demons and creatures that are straight out of Japanese mythology. And I kind of just liked that approach, and it didn't feel as... I don't want to put down Monster Hunter and bring down like pitchforks and flames on my house at all. It just didn't feel as generic, like RPG world-ish. It felt special. So I think they did a really good job with Tokiden 2 of bringing the world to be bigger. Like, you have this whole open world kind of feel to it now. They fixed so many things about it, and it's even more addictive than the first one was. So I don't know. I might like Monster Hunter now.
Oh yeah, you should try Monster Hunter. Monster Hunter, you got to get deep into it, but it has that uniqueness once you get under the surface. It just at first.
But there's no storyline motivating you in Monster Hunter, is there?
And there's a light story. The fourth one has the heaviest story. Yeah, like Generations is clearly for the fans. It's like a throwback to every game, but 4 has some. I'm a pretty big Monster Hunter fan. That probably gets the most play on my 3DS. But I've been trying to get into Tokiden. I tried the first one and I just didn't get into it. So I was curious about the second one because I thought maybe I'd give it a shot.
Yeah, there's a demo up for it. It should still be up on the PSN, so it's a good way. And everything carries over from the demo as well. So it's the best way to really see if you'd like it. I think Matt, or was it Matt or Joey? I forget who was asking how does it run on the Vita. I think that was the question.
Yeah, that was me. Yep.
Okay. It runs well. Its biggest issue is obviously in your anti-aliasing and textures showing up or not showing up. There's some characters that'll like pop in and out randomly in the town hub, but those are very minimal. The biggest issue is the controls. I did end up playing the entire game on the Vita, so it's completely doable, but I did mess around with controls.
Oh, no.
We lost her.
Oh, it sounded good, too.
Cool.
Where do we leave off?
I was talking about Toukiden 2 and a controller being made for a PS4.
Oh, right.
But I was pretty much done with that, so...
Right.
All right, let's talk about Little Nightmares then. You've actually beaten the whole game. How many hours did you think it took you?
You can beat the game in a realistic 5 to 6 hours.
That's so
probably
short.
If you like kind of suck at it. There is an achievement or a trophy depending on what you game on. There is a trophy for beating the game in an hour without dying. So that gives you an idea that it can be speed run.
Yeah.
But if you played a game like Limbo or Tearaway, it's not that short games can't fulfill something. So I would say this falls somewhat under that header. It definitely could have been longer. I was actually kind of just discussing the game with somebody today, saying that it's not a fantastic game, but it has like an excellent skeleton. I want to know more about the world, and I want to know more about its characters. As it stands right now, the last part feels a little rushed. I don't want to spoil anything for anybody, but you're definitely left feeling disturbed. The only difference is feeling like there were 1 or 2 questions that they could have answered for you and then let you theorize about the rest. As it stands right now, it's kind of like all theory.
Yeah.
So you don't get that fulfilling little piece of information to carry you into hypothesis land. You just kind of get left like, what did I just play? I feel disturbed.
So
you said the ending feels a little rushed, and I was wondering if that's because like the whole beginning of the game feels like a little slow.
Hold on. So Little Nightmares, I've seen the cover, but I honestly know nothing other than that people said it might be cool. Can you give us like an elevator pitch of what it is?
Yes, that's a super professional term, and I have nothing to do with making this game, so I'm just gonna give this elevator pitch. Little Nightmares is about a tiny little girl in this weird underground world that's under the ocean, as we quickly discover, and you're basically trying to escape. The whole game is basically just your journey to escape and finding out more and more about the environment that you're in on your journey to escape.
Yep, Little Nightmares. It did remind me a lot of Limbo, and they don't really tell you anything. So like at one point, I think in the very first area, I was like, "How do I even get out of here?" I was trying all the buttons, and I think like the grab button is once you figure out how everything works, the game feels very smooth.
Yes,
but they definitely don't tell you anything. There's these little. I don't think this is spoilers, but like there's these little dolls lying around, yes. And I know that probably has to mean something, but I can't tell what it means just in the little bit I've played of it so far.
A lot comes together like at the very end, and stuff you've been seeing that seems disjointed kind of comes together, and you're like, oh, but it's missing that one element that lets you put it together with a little bit more finality. So if I could have added anything to it, it probably would have been even just maybe like an extra half an hour on that final area, or even just some more solid atmospheric storytelling. Because Limbo is just as vague. You have like a million theories about what actually happened, why there's only one word in the entire game, like why is it hotel, stuff like that, there's a million theories, but you somehow feel more satisfied, I guess, at the end of Limbo, because Little Nightmares is less black and white, and there's this world and environment that you walk through. You're just left wanting to know more. So it's the first time the studio is making a title on their own. They have worked heavily with Media Molecule before, so the studio, Tarsier Studio, actually had a big hand in making Tearaway, and they worked behind Little Big Planet. In fact, Little Big Planet has like new skins that are for Little Nightmares. So this is their first venture on their own, so they don't have that kind of big backing behind them this time. So I wasn't expecting something at that tier, but they do seem to want to build up the world. They're going to be releasing like a 3 or 4 part comic book series that starts, I think, this month or next month. So I'll read it, and I guess that speaks to something. Like, I'd buy DLC if they made it. I'd buy a sequel if they made it. I'll buy the comic books. I want to know more. I wanted to know it in the game.
Yeah, it's a really good environment that you play through, and then it's also, I think, what's important is that it's a really good price point. Even like,
yes,
especially with like a 20% off if you have it via Best Buy or Amazon. Like, it's a really good intro price point for this type of game.
Yeah, I got the 6th edition, so I, got the little figure, and I got the soundtrack. So I spent more than if you buy it digitally, which is 20. I think I got the 20% off, so I got it for like whatever, a little under 40, like 30 something, plus tax. But I don't feel mad about it. The soundtrack is beautiful. I'm glad I have it, and the figure's great. So I'm happy to support them, and I hope they make more.
Yeah, and it seems like you can go through multiple playthroughs and notice different stuff, like you were saying.
Oh, for sure. There's collectibles and stuff that you can go back and get, and concept art to unlock. So not like a ton of replayability, but it's there if you want it. So I definitely will probably go back in.
Have you been playing anything else?
No, I've been so busy with like living in the game world as it translates to the real world right now. So for me, I don't want to talk all about myself. If anybody else has something they want to talk about, I can get to my stuff.
That's literally all we do here. But yeah, let's go. Let's go to you, Matt. What have you been playing past 2 weeks?
I got to the second dungeon in Persona 5, and then...
Ooh, Madarame.
Yeah, Madarame. So...
Yeah, how do you feel about the...
Spoilers.
I'm going to interrupt you. Yeah. But
that's okay.
No
It can't be that
spoilers. Yeah, no spoilers. But I just want to know, like, how you feel about the writing of this like, person, the central figure to this palace.
Yeah, are you talking about the character, or are you talking about like the whole scenario?
Just like how the whole scenario is written out, and kind of like the
honestly, not as big of a punch as the first scenario.
Yeah.
Seems kind of shitty and unbelievable. If I'm being honest, I don't know. This is kind of how I feel about Persona 5 as a whole. Like, I think it looks awesome. I'm actually really starting to dig a lot of the characters and like them. But I know a lot of people like to dig at Persona 4. A lot of people love it, but a lot of people dig at it. But there was something about that game that hooked me. And I think it was like the writing and how the characters, I could relate to them. It's like watching a bunch of teenagers talk about like how shitty it is to be a teenager, and like how like adults are oppressing them. And I think if I was 16, I'd be way more into that.
So it's too millennial for you?
I guess.
That's not even millennial. That's like whatever's after millennial.
I don't know.
Yeah,
like,
what do they call them?
Babies.
Babies. It's more like it's hard to explain. Like, maybe it's because I haven't gotten that deep into social links yet, and that's kind of what hooks me a lot. But like, so far it's like a dungeon crawler, and in the daytime we just whine about like how being a teenager is like so hard. It's just the hardest thing ever.
Yeah, I think it's gonna get, the social links I've done so far have been like more of the ones that are like, these are your close friends and they're going through stuff that's not really as deep. And I think Persona 4 had that beat where like your friends were going through like some pretty good scenarios. Same with like Persona 3, like they went through some traumatic stuff.
The only social links I've gone for so far, or been able to do, that haven't been like part of the story and they're like mandatory, like whatever your like website bro on the side, he's like mandatory. Like I haven't done anything and I got those social links. But the two I've gone for are you know, your what's his name? What's your first bro? The guy with the blonde hair's name. I'm blanking right now.
Ryuji?
Yeah, Ryuji. So you pretty much get him from the get-go, right? So I've done a couple of his. I can't go for man, I'm blanking on everyone's names tonight. It's been a long day. Yeah, I can't go for her yet because I'm not nice enough or something. So it's like I keep trying to like get nicer, but like it's like keeps like your kindness has improved, but I'm still like not there yet, I guess. And then the only other person was the doctor, and so I'm like not that I haven't really gotten close with my people who are supposed to be my close friends yet.
Right. So yeah, I think you'll encounter a few more social links that are a little better story-wise, but that does speak to like you're still like 15 hours in, right?
I think I'm like 12. Yeah,
and the game like takes a long time to get started.
Yeah, I heard that even about Persona 4, that, you know, people would be like, oh, you know, wait till about 15 hours and it really starts getting going. What? And you're like, what?
Persona 4 is a slow burn in the way I like. Like, I love slow burn type, like, psychological horror movies and stuff like that, where there's, like, a lot of, like, just character building and, like, talking, and you can feel the impending doom the whole time, but really nothing's happening. Like,
yeah.
Or, like, for instance, like, if you like Coen Brothers films, I don't know if you're into any of those, like No Country for Old Men or Fargo or anything like that. Like, there's a lot of that just, like, slow burn, like, just nothing's happening for a long time, and it's just, like, dialogue. And I love that kind of stuff, and I kind of got, like, a Japanesey kind of version of that out of 4, but I'm not getting it out of 5 yet, and that's what I want.
Yeah. Before we move into your next game, if I lose power, you guys, I'll have Matt log in and you guys can continue, but so far so good.
Are the storms like a raging over there?
You might hear a little bit of thunder. Please do not quote more Stevie Ray Vaughan.
No.
Anyways, so you've also been playing... Yeah, you've also been playing Front Mission for the DS?
Yeah, so kind of part of my frustration with Persona 5, which honestly I don't want that to come off of, I still think it's the best JRPG I've played on PS4 and I'm enjoying it. There's just some frustrations about it. But part of that frustration was like, I was like, are there any RPGs that are out there that are, you know, kind of a more mature story that I haven't played? So I kind of Googled, like, you know, RPGs aimed at mature adults that, you know, in a way that's not, you know, 18 plus type, but kind of just like...
I'm sure that Google search was a lot of fun.
Yeah, you had to weed through some things, but I mean, there's something out there for everybody. But I was more looking for something that's like, are the characters in their late 20s or 30s? Are they dealing with real issues and stuff like that? And a lot of people said like Front Mission is more of like a wartime type drama, but in a really good way. And so Front Mission DS is kind of like a DS port of the first game for, I believe it was SNES. So I've been playing through that, and actually it's surprisingly good. And the story's surprisingly deep for an SNES game.
That's cool to hear. I might have to check it out sometime.
Yeah. I mean, it's clunky.
I know very little about it.
You got to get used to it. It's very like, it's like hard. It's like hard sci-fi-ish kind of, like, it's very much about the war and politics, but kind of in a good way. So I'm liking it.
Yeah, if you're into that kind of stuff, like, that can be a lot of fun.
The characters are like...
Your Chronicles has a huge following for that reason.
Yeah, exactly. That's actually a good comparison. The characters also have that kind of like zany 90s anime vibe that you get out of like Evangelion type of a thing, which that was like my era of anime when I really got into it, so I'm really enjoying that.
Cool. And then you also picked up Puyo Puyo Tetris.
Yeah. I would recommend anyone who's into puzzle games getting that, especially if you're into Puyo or you're into Tetris or both. If you're not familiar what Puyo Puyo is, it's also, I guess in America, it's been Puyo Pop, Kirby's Avalanche, Dr. Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine. I used to play it a lot in college with, actually my whole dorm hall got into, I think it was Dr. Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine, but we used to all play tournaments of it, so I got really into that. And my wife is really into Tetris, and this game kind of marries the two. You can actually play just Puyo against each other, just Tetris against each other. There's modes where one person's playing Puyo and the other person's playing Tetris if they want. There's also a mode where you're playing both, and every however many seconds it'll switch to the other board, so you'll be playing Puyo and like you'll be sending garbage over to your opponent, and it only goes onto the corresponding games board. And then anyways, I was getting too deep into that anyways. I really like Puyo Pop, like it's really cool. So
yeah, as it's uploading, I haven't heard people shut up about this game like since it's come out, and I've been like, what is this, like why? But you know, I was all about Lumines back when that first came out, so I get it.
It's just cool how they married the genres, and it's like you can either just stick to what you like, or you can do like a new version, or like you can do both at the same time. It's just it was done well, very well.
All right, well, thanks for talking about Puyo Puyo Tetris, Matt. I've heard a lot of good things about it.
You should get it so you can play with me on the internet.
Yeah, that would be fun. What have I been playing? Finally, we're getting to me. I tried out the Trail on iOS, and I know none of y'all probably play phone games at all, but I have a very boring work life, so I try things every once in a while. And this is a what is the name of the group? How many cans is in Molyneux's? Peter Molyneux's like new development.
22?
Like 22 cans
99?
or something.
I don't know. I'm just throwing them out.
Yeah, some amount of cans. So this was developed by Peter Molyneux's team. And it's like a walking game for the phone. So you boot up the game and you set the speed of your hiker as you walk through just the new world.
I was right. 22
Go
cans.
ahead.
Just looked it up. Just
22 cans.
Just wanted to plug that. Yeah, I was right. So.
Yeah. But yeah, the point of the game is just to walk and improve your state of your character. He or she kind of starts off bare bones, with no shoes, tattered shirt, tattered shorts, and as you walk, you collect. You basically just touch the screen to collect materials and craft things. I don't know how long I'll stick with it because, first of all, it's a mobile game, and second of all, like they've really extended this like intro to the game, which I think is a mistake for mobile games. I think you got to throw people into the action right away, and this one like spends a lot of time on all of the mechanics that's trying to teach you. It has some really weird design choices too. But unless y'all pick up this game, we won't talk too much about that.
Isn't that game still early access?
Not sure. I think maybe it's beta. I don't know.
I always hear that 22 cans,
goes.
like none of their games have gone past early access. That's what I always hear.
Yeah, well, they're all like experiments right now, I think. Like Peter Molyneux says, he's even brought in some people who are big mobile game players to like scan their brains and like figure out like why people who play games on their phone are so different than like what we could consider like a more dedicated gamer. So I think all the games are a little unique, but I don't know if they've gotten it right just yet.
Yeah, I don't think mobile is a tough sell. It's mainly because there's no consistency, and every game has its own rules, and I've been burned really bad by some mobile games that I like had the audacity to get into, like Terra Battle. I had so many hours into Terra Battle, and my phone died. Like, it just ceased working. Code blue. And when I then I got my new phone and, like, re-downloaded everything, I was missing, like, all these different pieces of login information you need to recover your entire account. Even though I had my password and everything to log in, that wasn't enough. So I lost, like, I don't even know how many hours of progress. Never mind any money you spent on microtransactions. That's just gone. There's, like, no record of that. And then even within the same franchise, the Go games, like Lara Croft Go, Hitman Go, Deus Ex Go, Lara Croft, when my phone died, the Tomb Raider Go, that one did not automatically save to the cloud. But Hitman did. So I got to save some of my progress in one game, but none of it in the other. So stuff like that makes me want to throw my phone through a window.
Yeah, I switched iPhones and lost 15 hours of Final Fantasy IX because I forgot to upload a cloud save.
Right, and you're like, why isn't it doing that automatically? Like, consoles are doing it automatically.
True. I love that game, though, so I'm probably going to play all 15 hours again because that is the best iOS port I've ever seen of a game.
Wow.
Yeah.
But anyways, so yeah, I've tried a bit of that. I'll see. I'll probably try to stick with it at least till I hit, like, one of the major towns, because the general idea is, like, you're in the new world essentially, so you're, like, heading out into the frontier to make your claim. So we'll see how that goes. It's kind of like a walking version of what's that game? Oregon Trail or something.
Is that why it's called The Trail?
Possibly. But I've also been playing, picked up my 3DS again, so I started playing Etrian Odyssey Untold again. I love mapping games, so picked that up and
is Untold the dungeon crawler one? Not the one that spawns things randomly. The roguelike?
The roguelike? No. This one's it's like a remake of Etrian Odyssey 1 with a, like, light storyline added to it and the original cast of characters you can start with if you want.
Okay.
So yeah, I like the story, I like the characters they start you with, although I'll probably get rid of the physician because he's kind of crappy. And it's just a really fun game to if you enjoy mapping and stuff and, like,
I really like Etrian. I played the Millennium Girl and I have to finish the Fafnir Night. Things came out, I got distracted by something shiny. I have to go back.
Isn't that the same game that you're playing, Joey? The Millennium Girl?
Yeah, so Millennium Girl's this one. I'm playing Millennium Girl.
Oh, okay. I don't know why I thought it was so different.
It's a cool cast of characters.
I think they're all just called, all the new ones are now Etrian Odyssey Untold and then some subtitle. So he just didn't say the subtitle, I think.
Yeah, I just pulled up the image of the box art. I'm like, oh yeah, that's the one I played. Yeah, I like the story of for Millennium Girl. I actually didn't do the I know what you're talking about, like the classic version. I didn't bother playing that. I just stuck with the new characters, and I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, Etrian's fun without, like, an initial cast and storyline, but it's a little more fun with, like, characters that have some sort of personality and you get some investment.
Yeah.
And then I've continued playing Persona 5. I'm at the 3rd palace now, and yeah, I just feel like the writing isn't as sharp as 4 and 3. It just doesn't flow as well, narrative-wise, but I'll get through it because it's still pretty fun.
Cool.
All right, I think we have finished what we've been playing. We spent like a record time talking about what we've been playing. That's because Eric most usually just says he's been playing Zelda. But let's get into some big topics, some news. The biggest item I thought I'd get y'all's opinion on was this Nintendo 2DS XL that was announced. They're planning for release in July-ish, and it's going to retail for $150. The 2DS is now clamshelled, and obviously it has no 3D capabilities, but it has the new processor, so it can play all those new quotation mark new 3DS games.
When you say
and
all those,
it comes
you mean
into
like all those two?
all two.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't even know what the
all
second
two,
one is.
What's the second one? See, it's Xenoblade
That's a good
and
question.
Isn't it like
another
Pokemon
one.
like has like a portion or something? Something weird like that.
Not
Maybe.
even. It's like anything. I guess that you can argue like that needs amiibos, like or amiibo cards. You
Oh.
can argue.
I know
that.
what it is. It's the SNES games. That's what it is.
But so yeah, it does all that. What do you guys think about this? Is this a purchase for you all? Are you interested at all?
No. I don't understand what Nintendo's thinking with that announcement. I got the 2DS. I got it. Like the point, I should say. I got the point.
Yeah.
It didn't have the hinge. It's this one solid chunk of plastic. It doesn't have the 3D, so like little kids won't have to worry about eye strain. I bought 2 of them for my niece and nephew, who are 6 and 3. They love it. They dropped it 5 million times, and it hasn't broken. If it had had a hinge, it would have been broken by now. So I don't really get them. They're basically just took the price point that everybody wanted for the new 3DS, stuck it on the 2DS XL, and are like, here guys, just took the 3D out. And I don't know, it just feels like, how many iterations of this am I supposed to buy?
I mean, I don't think you're supposed to buy it. I don't think you're the target audience. So
Probably not, because at this point I have 5, so...
Right. I think the people this is for is they needed they wanted to put something out at this price point now that the Switch is out, and they wanted to consolidate everything. So they took the new 3DS XL and the new 2DS XL and they just combined them. Because the new 2DS and combined them. Because the new... Or the 2DS doesn't have the new processor, so it limits the games barely, but it limits them. It also doesn't have the nub, which the nub is pretty useful, especially if you play games like Monster Hunter or even Majora's Mask or anything like that. So I think they just realized no one really cares about 3D anymore, so they just kind of got rid of that and just put it all in one package. So I think it's for people who didn't get the new 3DS who might still want a DS. And that's it.
I think I'd have less problem with it if they had just skipped the new 3DS and just brought out this 2DS XL. Because the 3D didn't really change much. It's changed so minimally between the 3DS beforehand and the new 3DS. I noticed such a minimal change, and I still can't play it with it on for too long. I still get a headache.
Yeah, it gives me a headache too.
And it's just that it's just that conundrum of being so close to, like, the new 3DS is still being like, oh, that's the thing we're gonna buy. That's the most recent one, and then this one is, how much cheaper is it? Like $75 cheaper? I forget how.
I think
Just 50.
50. Yeah, so it's like $50 difference in price. So you get, yeah, it's just like anybody who bought the new 3DS right before this was announced, I feel bad for them because they could have saved $50 for the feature that nobody cares about.
Yeah,
Right, and into color schemes that people do enjoy.
Yeah. So it's sort of like, I don't know. At this point, I just sort of go, okay, Nintendo, you do you.
I honestly might pick it up if the bezel feels nice enough. If it's thinner in some way, I might grab it.
I don't know if it'll be thinner, but they really should have just lowered the 3DS XL to 150.
Yep.
Yeah, that's what they should have done. Although the hinge on the new 3DS XL is not so good, I must say.
Well, that's the same hinge you're gonna get here.
Are you sure?
It's not.
Possibly. I mean, maybe it'll be a little more kid friendly.
They changed the form factor. The fact that it's 2DS,
like
maybe it's going to be sturdier.
It reminds me of the old DS form factor, actually, like the original DS.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. That kind of bubble look. Like
that crappy, terrible look.
Wait, are you talking about the original?
Yeah, the original.
Yeah.
Like, like how when you open it, it's not flush. It's like you can see like a general like kind of roundness to each half.
Shitty. I don't like that. The DS Lite is still the best. I don't know why. I love my DS Lite still. I still play it.
It's so smooth. That's why. It's like
DSi was my favorite. I like that paint job, that like matte feeling.
Oh, that's nice too. I do like a matte
really nice.
surface. All right, let's. Do we have any other big? Is there any other big neuse that's come out recently?
Releases. Who cares? No one cares.
You don't care about new releases?
I guess. I mean, the biggest release that's coming out is Prey, May 5th. Everything else is out already, I think. No, the Caligula. Yeah. No,
Caligula's out.
It is out. It came out yesterday. Never mind.
Yep.
Joey's played it.
This is what happens when you have digital only. You forget when things are out.
Yeah, I played a little bit of the Caligula effect. I think Eric will probably pick up Mario Kart 8. Erika and I both got Little Nightmares. You got Puyo Puyo Tetris, Matt, and I don't think anyone's gotten Dragon Quest Heroes 2 yet. I still haven't finished Dragon Quest Heroes 1.
I'll probably pick up Prey eventually. I really like Arcane Studios, so I'll play it.
Yeah, I got to go to the pre-launch event for Prey and play the demo, which is the same demo you can play now, but it was just before it was made available. So it's like that first hour. It looks really good. I see a lot of potential for being able to play around with the mechanics and the physics, with the little mimic creatures being able to become objects, and it just seems like you're going to be able to get way more into the stealthiness and the cleverness of it.
Does the stealth feel like
the stealth feels a lot. Yeah, so I mean, in a lot of ways, it'll feel a lot like Dishonored. In the way it controls, the way you interact with your environment. There are a couple things, just because it's futuristic, that Dishonored obviously didn't have. My favorite thing is like they call it the goo gun, and it's like this foam that you can shoot, and it like hardens pretty quickly, and you can form pathways with it. So there are ways to like reach certain areas that you can basically just kind of like build a stairway, and it kind of opens up this different way of looking at the level design. Cool. So if you can't find a path, make your own. So I thought that was pretty cool. There's always kind of this feeling of wondering what's a mimic and what isn't, and the whole kind of groundhog of like what's really going on here situation that I can't wait to get more into. I have been told to give it a few hours in the beginning, that it ramps up. So you may like it for that, being more of a slow burn. I have a feeling this is going to be more of a slow burn suspense story. So we'll see.
I'm okay with that.
And is this like a reboot of the other Prey?
No, it has nothing to do with the other Prey. Basically, the original. Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, that's exactly what I was going to say. They got the name, and that's it.
Yeah, they just had the IP like laying around, and they didn't really have any plans to reboot Prey, and then Arcane had a new game, and it kind of fit into the title, so they just took it. And Bethesda just gave it to them. Yeah,
there actually had been work done towards a Prey 2, and it didn't go anywhere. So, basically, I guess it's a use it or lose it kind of situation, and like you were saying, they kind of
sad though. Prey was kind of a cool game. I like that game.
Yeah, it definitely had its own little cult following. I didn't get into it, so I can't speak for that. But I think it's confusing, and I think it might hurt it at first. But I feel like Dishonored had the same exact thing happen to it. Like when that game was first going to come out, there were so many people who were just like, "What is this game? Like it looks kind of boring. I don't get why I should care." And I was all about it. I was super excited for a new IP at the time. I just was like, no, guys, it's gonna be good. It's gonna be good. And so I ended up buying it, and then like 4 or 5 months later, everybody else was like, oh, it's really good. So
yeah, that game took me like 3 tries to get into. I think that happened to a lot of people. But then once I really got into it, like I just like crushed it. It was awesome.
Yeah, and then the turnout for Dishonored 2 was, like, huge, because some people were like, well, now we want more. And I'm just sitting there like, none of you believed in this game. I'm sure it's going to come.
Dishonored 2 had, like, a really unfortunate launch, though. Because it, like, came out within weeks of, like, every big first-person game of the year.
Yes,
that were all reviewed well. Yeah.
Yeah.
I felt bad for it a little bit, but still did well, so...
Yeah, no, it did really well. It had the misfortune of being out the same year as Doom, though, so... Doom is so good.
Doom was good, so...
It was so good.
Alright, do we want to have any gaming confessions? Is anybody... You can confess to me, I'll be the pope, preacher, pastor, whatever. I will hear your sins.
Well, apparently Eric stole mine, so...
About not playing Zelda until Breath of the Wild.
I have another one, and that one's pretty embarrassing. But I guess I'll say it. So I have never personally I've seen the ending, I've seen it played, so we're not going to go that far. I've never personally beaten Final Fantasy VII.
Oh, okay.
It's okay.
There's a lot of Final Fantasies.
I feel like
there.
my soul broke a little bit. Because like I played all, like, the spin-off, and I love Advent Children. I love Final Fantasy VII like to death, and unfortunately, one of my brothers beat me to the middle one. It's always the middle one. The middle brother beat me to the end of the game, and I saw the ending, and then I was like, well, now I know the ending, and, back in the day, I was hard. You had to grind all those levels, so it was pretty much like, I'll just play something else.
Yeah.
No, I have the same thing. I've never gotten past the beginning of the second disc, like, right after the snowboarding part. Mainly because my roommate beat it, and I saw him beat it, and then I had to play at the same time, like, on my own save, and then I just...
It kills that motivation, right? You're like, I don't want to do this now.
I might do it before the remake comes out, though.
Well, that means you have 10 years, so...
Yeah, exactly. At least you can play it now for trophies, though.
That's true.
But yeah, I think we all have Final Fantasy confessions. I don't think I've played a few of 1 through 6, and definitely haven't beaten any of 1 through 6. I tried to beat 1 in college, but...
Oh, that game was just sadistic. I was like, I'm not doing this. It's. I think it's kind of telling. Like, I went back and played a bunch of the Dragon Quest games, just to fill in, like, the history, and I thoroughly enjoyed them, especially because they brought 4, 5, and 6 to the DS. So, you got that, and then we finally got 7 and 8. But I already had 8, and I was one of those lucky people that had 7 on the PS1, so, whatever. But they were so much more enjoyable to play as a game experience, and I go back to older Final Fantasies, and I'm like, oh, this did not age well.
Exactly, yeah. They're a little bit, still, they're deeper, a little bit deeper fantasy, and then, like, where Dragon Quest is, like, really good at being, like, I don't want to say, like, cutesy, but a little bit more just, like... It's like
not as painfully, cripplingly difficult as, like, the encounter rates were so hard, like, high on the early Final Fantasies. It was like, take 2 steps, get in a battle. Take 2 steps, get in a battle. By the time you got to the next part of the story, you were like, ugh. So...
Yeah, that's what happened to Black Waltz and I when we were trying to play through... What were we even playing? Were we playing Final Fantasy IV?
Yeah, it was 4.
Yeah, and we got to a point, like, I think we probably were both 20 hours in, and we're like, oh, there's more game after this? It's just like, I don't know more. Can't do it.
I think we were like 7 or 8 hours in, to be honest. There's a lot of happens in that game. It feels longer than it is.
I don't know. I think I'd take a lot longer than you to play games.
Oh, really?
That's my gaming confession. It takes me forever to play games.
It took him like 100.
What about
Yakuza 0?
It depends on the game, though, making it not feel like a chore, because I played both Trails of Cold Steel games, and I have over 100 hours in each game. And
those are, like, notoriously long games.
Yeah, but it didn't feel like 100 hours. It felt like I was enjoying all the time. Like there was enough story to fill it up, and I was enjoying my time with Class 7 and finding out the politics of the world.
No spoilers.
Like I liked it. Like no spoilers at all. But like in hour 90, I'm still like into it, and that's like how many games can give you that.
Yeah,
that's cool.
They really did break up. We could like deep dive that series at some point because they really break up.
That needs its own like mini series.
They do a really good job of breaking up the times where you can focus on the storyline and your relationships. Then you're focused on like unlocking these skills out in the field with these people you have relationships with.
Yeah.
Did you guys play Trails of the Sky before playing those games?
No, I want to now, especially that they just localized the third one.
Yeah, I keep trying to get into them, and I get like 4 hours into Trails of the Sky, and then I get distracted. Then I have to start over because I forgot what happened.
I'm bummed that the third game is only localized on PC, and the first two made it like I can play it on the Vita, and like that's a game that's so long that I want it on a handheld. I don't want to have to like sit on my couch in front of my computer.
Yeah. So one thing that you can say about the PC versions is actually when the third one just came out, like actually just this week, I think it was the past week, April 26th or something. Xseed launched a giant update to both 1 and 2, like to the point where they like changed the character's name to better fit translation and added all this stuff and added HD and added widescreen support, and they're like still supporting those games, and unfortunately they can't patch the PSP ones. So
yeah,
that's one trade-off.
That's interesting to know. That might make me go back and decide to dive into it. Just add
I
it
was
to
just
my
reading about that today. I thought that was cool.
You think those are playable on a tablet pretty easily?
Yeah, a lot of people said
that's
what
they
did.
Windows.
Yeah.
That's a good point, actually. I didn't think about that.
There were a lot of Windows tablet people on Steam commenting about it today.
All right, I'm closing the door on the confessions. No more sins for today, but thank you.
Am I absolved?
Everyone's absolved. There's no real sins here. So please keep this as short as long as you want. I don't know how tired you are, but let us know. You went out to New York City to the Tribeca Games Festival.
Yes.
And you saw some awesome stuff, and you got to do some awesome things and meet some awesome people. So just give us the rundown of how that went.
Sure. It was the first time that video games have had a presence at the Tribeca Films Festival, which everybody knows that, whether they know what it is or not. But they know the name. And this was the first time that games have had a presence there, and it was a very mature presence. I have to say, like, the crowd was totally different than any other kind of conference, even different than E3. Very, like, there are no cosplayers, no, video game setups. This was very professional. A lot of people there were either in industry or, currently developing something, or there just to hear some of these developers talk. And the night ended, like, the three big closers, Sam Lake from Remedy Entertainment, the face of Max Payne, but also the writer for, Alan Wake, Quantum Break. He was there. Hideo Kojima needs no introduction. He was there. And Ken Levine finished up the night. So you had these three, like, huge names. And then right before then, you had Michael Chu, who's the lead writer and character creator for Overwatch. The coolest name ever, Kiki Wolfkill. She's the CEO. Not CEO. She's a director for 343 Industries behind Halo. And then they had Sean Vanneman from Campo Santo, who did Firewatch. And it was really interesting because they didn't focus so much on, like, look at all these cool games we made and the graphics. It wasn't that at all. It was these people both new, because you can call Campo Santo new, of course, to been in it for forever, imparting a lot of really good words of wisdom and development and what it takes to create a game. And Ken Levine's closing portion, he actually was sitting with a movie producer, Doug Liman, who made Edge of Tomorrow and Mr. and Mrs. Smith, and they're sitting there and they're, you know, talking about the creative process, and it was surprisingly, I don't want to use the word intimate, but it was surprisingly just like looking into behind the press junkets and the little media bites and talking about like that anxiety of bringing something new, and, you know, listening to Ken Levine say that he doesn't even know if he would have invested his own money in the original BioShock because the idea was weird. And, you know, just listening to him admit that unsurety. He didn't sit there being like, yeah, I, you know, was behind System Shock and BioShock. Like, no, not at all. He was very, very humble, and it was a really great learning experience just listening to these people talk about either how they write or approach the industry, and people listen. Yeah. That audience, you could hear a pin drop. I was very happy to see the game industry represented so maturely. I have nothing against cosplayers, obviously, and the whole crowd that comes with it, but people tend to hear, video game event, and kind of like roll their eyes. Surprisingly very well-dressed crowd, not suit and tie, but not, you know, flip-flops and socks. So no sponsorships from Doritos.
Right, and no people going woo every time.
Yeah, none of that. So it was.
Do you think there's a lot of? Do you think there was a big presence? Or you think it was a little more mature because there's a big presence from like filmmakers who are interested in the process and maybe interested in like procuring these IPs and making films about these games?
Possibly. I know one of the guys who was there, who sat across from Sam Lake, he had been originally working on the Uncharted screenplay. He is not any longer. I have several strong thoughts about him, but that can be saved for the article that's on my site, because I kind of deep dove into that conversation. I think it was also a combination of the way it was marketed. It was marketed in the same vein of the Tribeca Film Festival, so there's definitely overlap between those two industries, like you said, and I think that your usual crowd of people who are quote-unquote just gamers maybe didn't get the memo. A lot of people didn't realize that this was happening. You know, it's not like a free event. It's not open to public. The tickets ranged from, depending, like there was something else you could do that was a little more immersive with VR, that had more to do with documentaries. But the just to attend the event was $40. If you did the documentary for VR, it was like $75, which isn't price prohibitive, but it's not like throwaway either. So you definitely like want to see something for $40, you know. So you're gonna come, you're gonna shut up and listen, and just kind of like when you get there, it's just there's an ambiance, and you'd feel like an idiot if you didn't pay attention to it. You know, there's the people that are in the halls, there's security that's, you know, dressed in black suits and ties, and there's like a Nutella station there that was making crepes, and you could get an espresso coffee and look out over Manhattan. And I mean, you're in Tribeca, it's like dripping with money, and it's ridiculous, so you kind of feel like you kind of want to show up and be an adult. And I liked seeing that. I really liked seeing that be recognized in that way, because I'm always having to defend, like, no, video games are serious storytelling and there's serious writing and there's real talent. People are like, those Call of Duty. It's like, no.
Yeah, it's not just a throwaway hobby that's eating up all of your time, and that's why you don't do your chores or whatever.
Yeah. So, and there were college students there, probably several from, you know, NYU and the film schools and stuff like that. But they were taking notes almost as much as I was, and everybody looked like a little journalist, even if they weren't sitting in the press chairs. So, people were clearly there to get that wisdom being imparted. It wasn't all about the trailers on a big screen. Like, there was a big screen there, but the speakers were up there on chairs, sort of like those Inside the Actors studio interviews. They were just up there in a serious, like a moderator asking questions, and then, you know, when your time was up, that was it. Like, no rambling, but also staying on an intelligent topic. So, was pretty
yeah,
good.
And no salesmanship, I'm sure. So it's more like
nobody chose to reveal anything, or make some big coming out that no, there was none of that. They tried to get a little bit like Jeff Keighley was there with Hideo Kojima, and he made the joke that like everybody wants to know more about Death Stranding, which obviously he can't say anything about right now.
Right.
But it was pretty funny because he said like, "Oh, where are you with it right now?" And the translator says the question back to Kojima, and Kojima says to the translator, and the translator just goes, "Well, there's a plot." So it's like, and everybody laughed, and it was great. Because Kojima's such a wackadoo. He's great.
Was there anything that surprised you about seeing these developers and writers and designers up close?
I think what always surprises me, because to me, game designers are like my celebrities. I don't really I'd love to meet movie celebrities, but these people have made so many things that have taken up so much of my life that I'm always like in awe when I see them. So it kind of struck me how human they are. Ken Levine kind of gets a reputation of being elitist sometimes and kind of like a douche. He was actually really, really self-deprecating in a lot of ways. Like he made a joke at one point saying how he tries to be heady because he went to Vassar and he's an asshole like that, and everybody kind of laughed, but like you could see that he was making a joke at his own expense, like about himself, and it kind of just that perception kind of disappeared, and you realize like this guy's really smart. Like I kind of want to take him out for a drink and just listen to him talk, like just listen to his ideas. Kojima is just such a normal guy. Like he's not normal at all. He's totally like a weirdo, but he's that nerdy kid that like grew up to become this famous game designer, and it just happens to be sitting there now in that spot. I think the most surprising thing for me was who they paired Sam Lake of Remedy Entertainment up with, movie director Neil Berger, who was behind Limitless. That was surprisingly contentious. I don't think Neil Berger got the memo that this wasn't about movies and games competing in the same industry. This was supposed to be about story development. But I get into that in my own article because, again, that would take forever to explain. But that was kind of like the one moment where everyone was sort of like with the hashtag on Twitter, like, what is going on? Like, this is getting a little heated.
It's a little awkward, yeah.
That might be worth a read if anybody wants to check it out.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. Was there anything you were able to have demos out?
No demos out. Really wasn't anything like that. They went into a lot of ways that things were made, ways that stories were written, but nothing like a demo setup or anything like that. If I had decided to purchase the add-on for VR, that would have been the closest thing to a demo, but I didn't because it A, was a lot more money, and B, was mostly for documentaries and such, so it wasn't really like a big like VR in gaming. I did think it was interesting that they asked, and they're asking not nobodies, like they asked Ken Levine straight up, what do you make of VR? And he actually said, I was surprised he gave a solid answer to it, but he said he doesn't know if it's a gaming thing yet or if it's like an experience thing. And I was surprised he made such a definitive statement. And Kojima said something very similar, actually. He said that he thinks it's fantastic for documentaries, but he's not sure how it will work for games yet. So,
right now there's a lot of people who just like want to put the thing on and just kind of sit back.
Yeah, so that kind of like anybody who was on the fence about VR at that point was like, well, if Ken Levine and Hideo Kojima don't know what they'd make, I'm not buying this.
Yeah, and I guess that does kind of hit, that does kind of make me feel a little bit down in some ways, because I do want to pick up a PSVR just because I feel like it does have some possibilities to it. But yeah, I'm hearing that from a lot of people in the industry, from podcasts, and Yep, it's just not. It's
Well,
just
they
not going to get
also,
the support.
yeah, they talked about how difficult it is as a creator when every aspect of your work becomes interactive, down to which way you look when you enter a room. You know, creating for that amount of space it's not just daunting, it may just not be feasible for the story you're trying to tell. And,
Right.
you know, when you think about games, if they're linear versus even just open world games, even open world games have places that you have to go for a mission or things you can find to flesh out the story. Would Skyrim be cool or Fallout be cool in VR? Of course it would. Would you land up stumbling on things a lot sooner than you were supposed to? Probably. So, like, going about that whole creative process of how to handle a 360-degree space is... Listening to them talk about it like that, you're like, oh, now I see the problem. It's not just about, like, it's like they've thought it out, and they're not sure what their answer is.
Well, plus
Right.
that's a problem they don't want to tackle for... I mean, the time doesn't pay off for them because there's millions of people who already
Right.
play consoles and, you know, normal gaming, and there's only a couple, probably 100,000 that actually have VR devices. Like, they don't have the
Yeah.
resources to devote to exploring that when only
Yeah.
a couple 100,000
Exactly.
buy it.
Yeah. There's no killer app yet.
Right.
But what else? Was there anything else you want to...
No, I think
Talk
that's
about
it. That's the best I can summarize it. You know, so hashtag self promo. If you want to head to bigcheshiregrin.com, Cheshire like the cat. And if you don't know how to spell that, Google it. Shame on you. You can check out the article. It pretty much sums up that the evening, and there's a link there as well to which should still be up on Twitch, which is if you want to watch the entire 7 hours of keynote speeches, you can. But
Oh,
yeah.
really? I might check out a few. But it's really cool that you made it out there. How for us that, you know, live in other places that aren't so close to New York City, like, do you know how we find out about these events? Like, what do you keep your eye on to hear about these?
Follow developers on so like find out what social media platform they're most interacted with. I found out about it actually through, which is surprising, I found out about it through LinkedIn, but that I know it was on Twitter as well. Remedy Entertainment was pitching Sam Lake's presence there a lot, and then eventually Hideo Kojima's being there for sure started popping up, and pretty much just, you know, if you have developers you like, make sure you follow them, and if they're doing something cool, you'll see it. It's just about kind of, you can also be true to yourself too. Like if that's not your jam, if you don't want to like sit there and listen to people talk about processes, then it's going to be boring to you anyway. But you know, following the corporate page instead of just like the page for the game, a lot of people will make the mistake of following like the Deus Ex page or the Dishonored page or the Fallout page, whatever it is. When that game is done and when the marketing pitch ends, like, that's a dead account. So like follow Bethesda, follow Arcane, follow Remedy. That's how you'll find out about more of these things, because they'll be more corporately interactive about that kind of stuff.
Right. Those are some good suggestions, but these are good events for people who are interested in that design process. Like, I know,
Absolutely.
I know. I think we're going to talk. We're going to get more into game development in terms of the Geek Envy side of things. So it's cool to hear that they have events like that that are, you know, open.
They're around. It's and stuff like this. That's why I was really excited to go, because like it was maturely handled, and you got some real meaningful words of wisdom from these people that you wouldn't normally. Like, when else am I going to see Hideo Kojima? Like, I don't know.
Exactly.
Probably never.
For $40. Yeah. Like,
yeah, exactly. I was 5 rows away from the stage. It was like ridiculous.
Yeah. Well, cool. Thanks for telling us about that. And everyone, make sure you check out Big Cheshire Grin to read more on Erika's experience there. All right, Erika, thanks for coming out to join us for today's podcast. Please feel free to come back anytime you want. We're here every 2 weeks. we'd love to have you back because it's good to get these deep dive perspectives, and Eric disappoints us way too much. So you're an amazing Eric fill-in for us. And of course, this podcast is made possible thanks to Zencastr. You can find Matt and I online at geekenvyblog.wordpress.com. And Matt, where can I find you on the internet?
At BlackWaltz03 on Twitter. And that's actually about it right now.
That's pretty much it. Yeah, and I'm on Instagram at GeekStereo and on Twitter at MeAndTheStereo. Erika, tell us everywhere we can find you.
You can find me, obviously, at my site, bigcheshiregrin.com. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at helloneo.com. It is spelt with ones and zeros, so HE110NE0. That is currently my Twitter and Instagram presence, and I also have bigcheshiregrin.tumblr.com. If you want to just follow it to see when new links go up, you'll know when there's a new article. It's a little easier to follow Tumblr, I think, than a billion other things if you already have that. And that's pretty much all the places that I'm at right now.
Awesome. And yeah, I'll give a shout out to your Twitter. It's a really good Twitter feed to follow. And
thanks. I just put up a new article today for anybody that checks it out today. I just put up an interview with the developers of a sci-fi 2D Metroidvania RPG that's coming out called Kova. Looks fantastic. Just got approval from ID at Xbox. So they clearly have people that have a lot of faith in them because it takes a lot to get that green light from Xbox's independent developer.
Yeah.
So definitely check out the interview I did with them. They're really interesting. They're a husband-wife development team. And the graphics just look great. It's just the slickest 2D gritty cyberpunk sci-fi that I've seen in a while. So definitely check that out.
Awesome, that's great. Thanks again for joining us. If you, the listener, have any comments, suggestions, questions, or anything for us at Geek Envy, send your questions to askgeekenvy@gmail.com. If you've got anything for Erika, you can let us know too, or throw her a message.
Yep, I have a contact me form on my site.
Yeah, on her site or Twitter or whatever.
Yep.
Thanks again. We'll see you in 2 weeks. Say bye, everyone.
See ya.
Bye, everyone.